Hey there friends, Dana here, otherwise known as Dana Spirit Butterfly, and this is a video as an energy forecast to cover the next moon cycle or lunar cycle. We've been doing these videos for some time and we do them every cycle. We began to, me and my spirit conglomerate, the family of spirit entities or energies that work through my own guidance system. Here to provide some support, and support obviously takes a whole different range of things for different people. But for us today, the language of spirit that I speak is mostly a land-based one. It's one that aligns with the trees and the animals and the plants and the ecology that we all exist in, being planet Earth. But I'm also strongly aligned with Rose, a plant spirit ally. And if you want to learn more about a Rose program that I offer, the initiation is mostly for women, but men are invited to tune in if you'd like to have a look into a little bit more about that work. But I mentioned that today because I do have a new program that starts this coming Monday that is worthy of attention and can support you if that's your point of magnetism, if that's the thing that attracts you, to deepen into your own spiritual dialogue and that which relates to you. So just like I have a spiritual intelligence that I attune to, that communicates through me being the physical human vessel, aligned with spirit, because spirit is in and between all things. All of us have a spirit energy or are a spirit entity, and all of the plants and trees and flowers themselves also have their own unique independent voice that's worthy of listening to and getting into a dialogue with. And there, in reflection, we can grow, we can change, we can evolve, and we can become more earthbound, connected and reverent to the life that we have, and in tune with a greater wisdom. A wisdom that is beyond the self, yet is also supportive of you. And you know, who doesn't want that? Indeed, so many of my clients that I see deeply feel pain that comes off the back of not feeling safe in their experience, or not feeling worthy of the life that they feel pressured to maintain, or somehow not seen as worthy. And all of these dialogues appear as a part of our very humanness, our very human experience, but its nuance or its unique lens moves through each of us differently. And it's our responsibility to have a conversation with that. It's our responsibility to get more clear on how the archetypes that move through our collective grid, our collective field of association, how these energies move through us and begin to communicate with others, whether known or unknown, conscious or unconscious. And so, enough about that particular thing. We are here to give an energy forecast around the lunar cycles, partially because the lunar cycles act as a nice time stamp that helps us regulate a different rhythm, if you will, to the one that's been given and the one that's been imposed upon us, that ironically came not for any other reason other than to keep meeting points steady for transport vessels. So the time that we keep was our creation based upon the nautical industry, so that we knew when to meet ships and we knew when things would arrive. And further to that, that institutionalized way of existing has now proliferated across all of our systems, and it's now interwoven into the very being of our nature. Yes, absolutely true. These things have impact and have potency. But alongside of that is also a story, a system, a currency, a flow, an energy that also belongs to the earth and belongs to the seasonal landscape. It belongs to the electromagnetic fields of our geographical location. It belongs to you as you walk through life with a heart that beats and a mind that thinks. you create an electromagnetic pulse. There is a nuanced version of human inside each of us that is worthy of attention and has its own divine timing. And so lunar cycles themselves are nice ways to mark time, and over a period of time, when you do allow the lunar cycles or your awareness of the lunar cycles to grow, you might notice certain waves or weaves of conversation and storytelling that impact you deeply. And it's not until you have the story that you look at and that you listen to and that you start an active dialogue with, you for you, with you, for you, solely because you exist and have a thought and a meaning and a sense and a purpose and a heart and hands that hold and feet that walk. Because you have all of these aspects of very human self, you are worthy of attention, time, and dedicated space to perceive yourself and what your deeper conversation is, what I often call the deeper well. The deeper well, wellness well, also is a part of you that is connected. It's connected not just to all of your independent cells that exist in your body that can coordinate with a certain level of intentionality and therefore magnetism, but also you are connected to a lineage. You're connected to a blood lineage, and some will insist, me too, but it's up to you, your story, your responsibility to own. Some of us also believe in something called soul lineage. And soul lineage talks about incarnation. It talks about you as an independent voice having a history, a storyline that precedes that which you're involved with now. And these things actually come back as stories. They come back as stories in our now life to help us to remember a deeper conversation, to help us remember that we do have this attunement connection to a wisdom that is beyond the obvious and can be communed with. When you learn how to commune with them, you start to see the world differently. You start to resource energy differently. And this is where the things that I express and encourage my clients and students and pretty much any person that I see to cultivate is practice. Practice for self and soul, practice so that you can reclaim your own independent voice and find spaces where you can be heard and where you can impact with relativity or right relationship. Now, right relationship is a very long conversation. There's a whole lot of conversation around right relationship that exists in Indigenous paradigms. And before I go much further into this video, I just want to acknowledge that today I'm situated on Bundjalung land. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, recognising that sovereignty was never ceded and that I'm an Anglo-Celtic Dutch ancestored woman, female, who was born on Ghana country, otherwise known as Adelaide, South Australia. And I feel very privileged to have this as my home and hearth right now. Of course, like all of us, this is just a small part of my own story that is my responsibility to hold, express and share. Sharing, is caring, but sharing is also a conversation that is nuanced. The time and space for it is not always obvious to us. So coming back to the lunar cycles, this lunar cycle is actually going to challenge some of our sharing, caring paradigms, partially because it's very heavily woven with the Leo energy. And the Leo energy, and it doesn't matter if you believe in astrology or not, let me just say that out loud. Of course, astrology, astrological, cosmological kind of influences, they all have electromagnetic frequencies. They all have an aspect of their own individual nuance that does dance a little bit within our own landscape. And so all of these planetary systems, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, because again, this storyline is for you, but they all have their own resonance that calls forward certain resonances inside of us. Why? Because we're all connected to the dance of the stars as much as we are to our personal ecology. There is relativity in all spaces, and we also have ancestral storylines that pay respects to different astral bodies in particular ways. Again, how this dances within your own unique, independent energy bubble, your own electromagnetic field, is your conversation to own, to get clear on, to have a better sense of. And practices like my Rose program, like the psychic development stuff that I offer, like a lot of plant medicines and shamanic practices and, you know, going to a psychotherapist, all of these things help you with your own independent dialogue. Critical and important for every human to have some attention drawn to themselves so that they can have a deeper conversation with their own storytelling. So, lunar cycle. This lunar cycle, very heavily Leo influenced, very heavily in the landscape of what a lot of people call the Lion's Gate, which is a construct. Yes, it is something that's been imprinted in our spiritual conversations, helped by social media. All of these energies do have a space in our now moment with relativity to all of us. The Leo energy is one of independence. It's one of finding your own voice in the space of everything. If you ever look at a lion has their own pride, and they are at the top of their pride's power dynamic. They are the ones influencing. They are the ones making decisions. And so similar to a lion taking care of their pride, Lion energy, Leo energy also encourages this type of voicing. And that type of voicing can be fun. It can be revelationary for some people. When you dance with these aspects of self, these archetypes, they can open up your voice and help you land more fully into something that feels closer to a calling for you. But if you feel a little bit embarrassed or shy, or you've been shamed around expressing yourself openly in the past, then you may find this energy a bit challenging, especially too because the Mercury retrograde also starts around the same time. So the new moon, Australian Eastern Standard Time, it starts on the 4th of August, and the Mercury retrograde is on the 5th of August and goes for about 3 weeks. So pretty much across this lunar cycle there is a Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrogrades, you know, like all energetic influences, they're influences not to be confused with determiners of your actual future or what it is that's happening with you. Mercury retrogrades are usually periods where communication gets a bit challenging, and that might mean that you might find that you need to communicate something to someone and the words that you use don't necessarily fully declare what it is you're trying to express, and you can't find exactly the right words. Or you might notice that someone's sharing something with you and you don't fully get what they're saying, and it doesn't seem clear to you what it is that they're trying to communicate. These types of situations and circumstances can be applied to help us get better at communication. But if you fall really heavily into low in the ego, low in the sense of confidence, or you haven't journeyed much with your own dialogue of self-awareness and independence, then you will find this period of time can be quite triggering, and it might push you into a seat of, oh no, there's no space for me. Oh no, there's so many people around me with independent voices, and I feel overwhelmed and maybe a little bit ashamed of my own voice and what it is that I want to say. And, you know, the Great Spirit just wants me to say to you, there is always space for you. There's always space for all of us to communicate our truth, but partially the reason why we find that we can't communicate our truth has a little bit to do with maybe a lack of skill set in terms of using language that's called authentic relating, being able to relate to others with real confidence in your own perspective and an understanding that none of us ever hold or possess the full truth 100%. When you can have an appreciation that perfection is actually imperfect and that there is actually no right or wrong that's so crystal clear for any of us, that communication always is perfectly right in the way that it goes, then you create a window or a space that basically says, this person said something and it's not clear to me, or I feel triggered by what they said. Maybe I can go back to them and ask them gently, softly, maybe with rose-coloured glasses, maybe with a drop-in of heart-based, womb-based, earth-based remembering of that soft, subtle compassion that rose inspires in us. You can maybe say to the person, I'm really sorry, but when you said this is how I heard that. Is there anything else that I might have missed, or is there something that maybe you need to communicate? And giving space for a dialogue that's not immediate and completely straight, with the assumption that that which is spoken is all that is necessary. It's about being more deeply attuned to what you need in a conversation, whether you feel that there's something not quite right in a conversation, and then respecting that all of us has a right to self-sovereignty. Meaning that we're not always going to be able to have clear and available relationships with all people. When we talk about right relationship, it doesn't mean that all of us have to have absolutely perfect relationships with everybody. Actually, it's almost impossible to do that. And if you feel like you are in a relational paradigm where absolutely everything is exactly the way that you want it, chances are there are people in your field that you're in relationship with who don't feel the same. This is life. This is life. This is life for all of us. So this moon cycle, there is Lion's Roar, Lion's Gate, independent sovereignty. If you want to learn more about that, I do have a short online call that I would like to invite you on the 8th of August, so the 8th of the 8th, the Lion's Gate. And you can read a little bit more about that on my website, which is www.dana.spiritbutterfly.com. Or you can also, of course, tune into my socials, Dana Spirit Butterfly and all of them. So Lion's Gate, independent roar, finding your voice, also entirely aligned with the current year of the wood dragon, Chinese astrology. Moving forwards, heading into the full moon. The full moon is going to occur around the 20th, the 19th, the 20th, depending on which hemisphere and where you are geographically located in the world. The 20th of August. It is a full moon in Aquarius. And as I say that, I actually feel lighter because Aquarians are interesting. They're known as the water carriers. And water carriers, why? Because they actually are quite healthily emotional in their landscapes, but they do always prioritize the independent thought of clarity. And so they're often visionaries. They're often people that see beyond the individual into the collective to see how things situate themselves in space and time. And they are quite capable of finding the words to communicate that which is needed in order to broker that balance between the emotions that we feel, the triggered response of things not feeling quite right, and being able to declare them openly with some level of confidence. And so moving into the 20th, around the 20th of August, you will feel a sense of lighter and a sense of ease. But of course, also be careful. During full moon periods, the kinetic energy can be quite high, which for some people can be overstimulating and irritating. It is a great time to actually look at things that are in your landscape full moons, because the heightened kinetic energy actually shows us more in reflection about us and our environments. But a lot of people actually do have massive shadows around particular aspects of self, either aspects that they've never sat with and journeyed with or had a conversation with personally in order to understand them better, or they just naturally have a tendency of externally processing. Which external processing, we all need an element of that. We do need relationship in order to see ourselves sometimes. But intrinsically, if you are in adult form, it is important for you to acknowledge that you are an adult with free will and an ability to make decisions and make choices for yourself and to act with agency. All of us have that power. All of us have that power. Whether you're using it or not, whether the muscles are active and being worked on, or whether or not they're atrophying because you're not practicing them, that is your problem. That is something that you need to look at. So tune in to that maybe for yourself to see how it is that you can find a little bit more of your voice. Again, my Rose program is good for that. Heading into the end of the moon cycle, things are going to be much quieter than they have been over the last few months. So the last few months, there's been a lot of turnover of things. And the energy at the beginning of the cycle is going to be quite high and quite independent. And there's going to be a lot of fiery expression of things, particularly if you're in the US around the election. This will taper off a little bit at the beginning of September in preparation for what's about to come. And what's about to come is eclipse season. In September, there is a lunar and a solar eclipse coming up. Also, we are heading into the equinoxes. And so again, not all of us are aligned with this cyclic landscape. It's unfortunate if you aren't, because your energy systems do need a certain amount of resource around the seasons that helps you to be connected to hearth and home, to help you to be connected with your landscape, to help you to be in right relationship with things. But if you want to get a little bit more across the cyclic nature of the self and the soul, please check out my resources. Moving on from this, we just want to declare that there's still more time to join the Rose program that starts on the 5th of August. If you miss the 5th of August, you are welcome to join during that week. You still can join it without falling too far behind. I really love the program. It's a 5-week program. It's not just for women, but it is primarily focused on feminine language, reclamation, and returning back to your own resource, returning back to the tools that you actually have within the very design, the very human design that you have. And we align with the plant spirit of Rose in order to do that. And she's an amazing gifted healer. And when you are able to drop fully into your center and to reconnect with your own deeper consciousness, your own deeper well, she helps to guide you into better decision making, and also to create better environments for yourself so that you feel like you're in the flow of life, a better flow of life. With that, we will wrap this video up. So thank you for tuning in. Please be safe and well across this moon cycle. There is still a lot more to come. So whatever it is that you're experiencing right now, Spirit is just saying, have courage. There is a lot of energetic clutter and interferences in the field at the moment. There are so many reasons why they're there. What these things do is they often leave you feeling a bit clouded in the mind. They often feel you feeling pressure at the heart, and it can impact digestion and sleep patterns and cycles. And the antidote for that is always to reclaim your own relationship with the natural world, is to come back to your own center. And your center is where you are geographically located, the very bricks and mortar that your house is built with and that you and the people that you cohabitate with. It's really important that you understand that these are and should be your primary conversations. When you avoid those conversations, it's really easy to distract yourself and end up in the entertainment paradigms. And you can experience a certain level of joy there for sure. You know, entertainment is entertaining for a reason, but it's not a long-term health strategy. And also, you're stealing from yourself an opportunity to enjoy a richer dialogue, a more nourishing, more resourceful dialogue. And we want that for you. We want that for everybody. If more people did this type of work for themselves, they would not feel so much shame, blame, or play with the power dynamics that they do, unconsciously hurting others. And so with that, I will sign off. Please be well. Reach out if you'd like a session 101 or you'd like to join one of my programs. Wishing you well. See you next time. Bye, friends.